Oh, please. So there, now you're up. Okay, can everybody see both Nikki and me?
I'm
I
here.
think yes. Okay, so let's start over. Pretend you didn't hear that first 7 minutes of this, and I'll edit it out when I go to save it. Listen, we're just real here. What can I say? So whoever has joined us and stuck with us, I really appreciate your being here.
Thank
So
you.
starting over again, Nikki Rausch is your sales maven. She is an incredible selling coach, and she has completely changed the way I do selling. And I have learned to adore selling because of the work with Nikki that I've done. Nikki, help me. So I was talking about your two books. One is this Selling Staircase, which I hope you spent some time talking about. What is the other one where you indicate signals?
Buying signals.
Buying signals. Oh my God, that completely also changed how I was able to go to networking events and find people who actually might want to buy from me as opposed to tire kickers. OMG. So let's start out with this. Nikki, do you want to introduce yourselves to our lovely people so they can get a sense of who you are? Because I'm just your fangirl, so what can I say?
Well, I feel like it's mutual because I'm also a fan of you, my friend, for sure.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki Rausch. My company is Sales Maven. I am a coach, a trainer, and an author, obviously. And I really focus on the relationship side of selling, the conversation piece, which is why I teach a structure to sales, which is my 5-step approach, which is the selling staircase. And what I do is I really focus on, like, once you've got a lead or you have somebody who's interested in you, how do you seamlessly move that person through the process so you get to the place where you either identify they're not a client or you identify they are a client, and now we exchange dollars for services or product or whatever you're selling. So I love the conversation side of sales, and that's really my focus and what I teach.
So and this made the biggest impact to me, what differentiates your 5 steps and your techniques from other selling? I know the answer, but I want you to tell me the answer.
Well, most people talk about sales, about filling a funnel. Like there's a sales funnel, which I get the concept of the sales funnel. And I do agree that there is a sales funnel and that you need to fill the funnel. But what I find is lacking in a sales funnel approach is the conversation that happens. Now, if you have an Etsy store or you've just put up a website and people are just flocking to it and just like buying without you never having to have a conversation or engage with them in any way. And that means over email or any type of engagement other than they go to my website and they just send me loads and loads of money, which doesn't happen for many of us.
It doesn't happen, right.
So there is a conversation that happens, and that's where I feel like the selling or the sales funnel really kind of loses. And that's why I teach this 5-step approach, and that you've got to move people through the process. And it's through conversation, again, whether it's via email or it's face-to-face or it's over the phone or it's over Zoom, whatever you're doing. But there are steps that move you through the process that allow for your own authentic personality to shine through, which I think is crucial to the selling process, and really attract your ideal clients and then repel the people who aren't.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to walk us through the 5 steps in a minute, but the 2 things that completely blew me away with this process is the idea of invitation, where you are opening your hands and just saying, I'd like to invite you into whatever the next step is. The answer might be no, but you've issued a very sincere, look, I've got this for you. Are you interested? An invitation. That completely changed my mindset. The other thing that you talked about just went out of my head, but it was being, talk to us a little bit about Here Kitty and the kitty and the doggy thing. That's so fabulous. Because I did a Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago on networking, how to network successfully.
Yeah.
And that whole idea of being intriguing as the first step in these 5 steps. Talked about that a little bit too.
Yeah. So I do teach curiosity is the second step. And
Okay,
so when I'm teaching curiosity, I say creating curiosity is the difference between how you call a dog and how you call a cat. You know, when you show up and you want to get a dog's attention, you can have this like high pitched, really high energy, like, come here, boy, come here. And dogs love that. They're like, oh my gosh, we're going to do something fun. I want to come play with you, right? But when you show up at networking events and you have that dog calling energy, it really repels people because they're like, oh, here's the salesy person, or they're going to just like, they're going to word vomit all over me and it's going to feel bad. But, you know, like people are scared of those people. And so, and by the way, if this is your natural, if you're like an overly excited and there's no judgment about it, it just doesn't work for you in the sales process. So the flip side of it is think about when you're trying to call a cat. You need to create a little curiosity to get a cat to come to you or pay attention to you. So we always hear people go, here, kitty, kitty, right? Here, kitty, kitty. And cats will like, what's going on? Like, maybe I'll pay attention to you. But if you try to call a cat like you call a dog, they will not come.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is how can you show up at a networking event and have what I call a here kitty kitty response to really standard questions. So for instance, think about how many times somebody says, hey, how are you? Right? Like, oh, it's so great to see you. How have you been? Now you might have a standard response. You might say, oh, I'm fine, or oh, good. Or, you know, sometimes people like scream, because I always ask people, what do you say when people ask, how are you? Which, by the way, if those of you watching want to say, like, what is your answer to how are you? But sometimes people go like, oh, I'm living the dream, or they'll have some fun answer. But that doesn't actually open the door to talk at all about your business. And if you're going to a networking meeting, you need to at some point talk about your business because you don't know if you're ever talking to an ideal client or not. So think about how you would answer the how are you statement that opens the door to create a little here kitty kitty. And how you know it works is the other person will ask you a follow-up question. So right now, if somebody said, hey, Nikki, how are you? I might say, oh, I am great. I am just about to go to a conference where I'll be sitting on a panel and I can't wait to go. And that would have somebody go like, oh, what conference are you going to? Or what's the panel about? Or what will you be talking about? Now it opens the door just like a little bit for me to talk a little bit about what the conference is or what the panel is or why I'd be sitting on the panel. And you could do that for anything. I will say that the qualifier here is only say things that are true.
Right.
But do have a response to these here kitty kitty statements or these here kitty kitty like opportunity questions. Don't like, they are not throwaway questions. Like make them
They're
count.
Strategic, yeah.
Yeah, be strategic.
And this is brilliant because it eliminates the me vomit. You know, that this is I'm gonna bash you over the head about my business, right? It's as you said, it's intriguing and it leaves the door open for someone to talk. So if this was step 2, then I clearly got ahead of the game. So why don't you walk us through the 5 steps so people can hear how they progress and how the invitation concept goes with all of them. So you're on.
Okay. So step 1 in the selling staircase is the introduction piece. This is when people are getting to meet you for the first time. And so what are you doing to make a powerful first impression? And by the way, it could be that they're like physically meeting you for the first time, but it also could be that you're introducing somebody for the first time to the concept of working together, or like just even like dipping your toe in the water a little bit to see like, is this a potential client or is this just somebody I'm going to be happy that I met and, you know, get to see them again in another event? So introduction is step 1. Step 2 is curiosity, which we talked a little bit about. And what happens when you create curiosity is then people oftentimes start giving you buying signals. So I know you referenced the buying signals book. So that's where you start to recognize like, ooh, buying signal, I need to act on it. And then that's really when this invitation piece starts happening, is because then you invite them to step 3. Step 3 in the selling staircase is the discovery. That's where you are checking to see, do they have a problem or a need or a want, a desire? And does it fit with something that I offer? So that's doing a discovery piece. And
let me jump in right there, Nikki, excuse me for interrupting, but I think the thing that many entrepreneurs and solopreneurs don't really get about the discovery process is that 2 things. One is that it's an assessment of whether or not you want to work with that person and whether or not you have something to give to that person, because the answer on both those sides isn't always yes. I mean, the fact that you've got a discovery call booked doesn't mean that you want to work with them or that you're a good fit. So that's the one thing. The other thing that I've learned from you big time is discovery sessions are all about listening, asking strategic questions and then shutting up and listening to what they're telling you so that you can make that assessment, is this a good fit, but also then be able to parrot back to them, this is what I hear you need. This is how I might be able to help with that. So it's more about, the discovery call is more about discovering. I mean, that's why it's called that. And listening to what they have to say. So if you're talking a lot on a discovery call, you're doing it wrong. So I interrupted you. So go ahead about that.
No, you're perfect. The discovery call, like everything you said, 100% agree with. And you should not be selling during discovery. Like just because they answer a question and you're like, oh, I have a solution for them.
Right.
This is not the time to sell. This is the time to ask strategic questions that lead people to hiring you and lead you to figure out, do I want to work with this person or not? And then once you've done a great discovery, then you invite them to the next step, which is the proposal. That's step 4. Mm-hmm. And that can happen in the same conversation. So I don't mean to imply that you need a whole different conversation for it. As a matter of fact, you can move through all 5 steps in one conversation with somebody sometimes, right? So don't not move to the proposal. But once you have done a really great discovery, this is then an opportunity for you to say to somebody, you know, I have a sense that there are some things that we could work on together. And I have a proposal of a way that we could do that. Is that something you'd be interested in? Like, notice I don't even just say like, oh, you should hire me because you're a private ideal client for me. Like, I don't ever go into that.
You just asked permission again, right? So the thing that, again, is mind-blowing is that before you get to the next step in the staircase, you're asking permission. And so in the templates that you share, Nikki, about how to conduct a discovery call, before every next step, there is a phrase that revolves around, would it be okay if? Are you okay with? Would you mind if? So that you then make them comfortable, because it's all about creating comfort in a discovery call, right? So that they trust you
safety.
And they feel in a safe space. Yep. Is it okay if I ask you a few questions before you launch into your strategic questions?
Yeah.
Again, that I've seen that on so many calls since I started doing that, where people kind of go, because you're not ramming them over the head with sales.
Yeah, because we often forget that people who are getting on a call with you, especially for a discovery call, may be nervous. Like you might be nervous about them as an ideal client and like, oh, I'd like to do a good job here. I'd love to earn their business. But they may be nervous about talking to you. And your job is to create safety. Because when people feel safe, they breathe, first of all. Like you just said, they go like, I'm holding my breath until I see that she's not going to bang me over the head and sell to me. Right. Like, okay, I can let the air out and then I can take a nice big breath. So they feel safe. And then when people feel safe, they're much more revealing about how to earn their business. They'll be more candid and more like just candid in their answers with how to earn their business and what their problem is and what their need is. And if people don't feel safe, they keep their guard up and they'll be like, I don't really need any help, or I don't think you're the person.
Don't sell to me, right?
Yeah. It's like, we don't want them to have their guard up. We want to create a safe environment for them so they can be at ease, so that we can really assess, is this a client, or is this somebody that I call like a bless and release person? Like, not that I don't like them as a person, but maybe they're not an ideal client because I don't have the solution for them. Or sometimes it could be that I don't feel like I want to coach them, right? Or I don't really want to work with this person. Right. And not that they're a bad person, but maybe they're going to take too much energy, or they're not really open to being coached, or whatever that is. So I bless and release in a kind way. So I keep the rapport intact. But if they are an ideal client, you're right. Then I'm going to ask permission again to make the proposal, which is step 4. And then once you've done the proposal, then you issue the close language, which, by the way, is another invitation. It's the invitation of, in a nice way, but I'm going to say it in a really direct way. Do you want to buy? Yes or no? Like, I don't say it like that, but that's really what you're asking when you get to the close, but you're just doing it in a nice, kind way that makes it easy for them to go, do I want to buy? Yes or no? My answer is whatever the answer
Can you
is.
give some examples of how that might be phrased?
Yeah. So in the close, I might say, based on it. So again, if I've got permission, I've laid out my offer. I would say, here's what I would recommend for us as a possibility for working together. Does that sound like something you're interested in doing? That's me, yes or no. Or I might say, here's a possible way for us to work together. This would be my recommendation. How does that feel for you? Or does that sound like something that would be a good fit for you? Or sometimes I just say, if I've laid out a few ways that we could work together, I would say, based on these options, which is the best fit for you right now? And then, by the way, when you issue the closed language, then you zip it.
Right.
And you wait for their response.
Isn't that the hardest part?
It can
because
be.
We're all groomed to fill a void, right?
Yeah.
Silence is very intimidating. So that's the hardest part, I find, is just to issue the invitation and then keep my mouth shut. So I can allow them, it takes time to process what you've offered. And not just, have to hear what you've said. They'd have to see, gosh, is that much money? I was expecting this much money. Do I have the money? But there's a process that goes on. And you have to allow them the time to process that stuff. So keeping your mouth shut at that point is very difficult, but very important.
Because we forget that we already know everything we know. So but for somebody to be hearing it for the first time, it's new information. And like you said, they need to process. And if you speak, once you've issued closed language, if you talk, oftentimes you'll disrupt their thought process. Then they won't make a decision, or you'll it's like, we're going down this path. And because I spoke, now we're going this way, but the sale is down this way, not this way. And now I just derailed me and the person who I know I can help by keeping talking. So it's called selling past the close, and it's really important that you don't do it. And like you said, silence is not easy. I always say silence is an advanced selling skill. And there are key times when you have to just, whatever it takes for you to be quiet. Like I said this one time to Natalie Ekdahl when she was asking me, how do I not talk? And I was like, you put your lips together and you hold them. And I'm not trying to be sassy, but that's it. So now she says she counts. She goes, I just put my lips together and I count 1,000, 1,000. And I wait until they respond. I'm like, perfect. If that's what works for you, by all means.
Yeah. Right. So talk a little bit about what happens. We all get this where they say, I'm going to have to think about it. So what's the next step? What?
I said, I love that response because it happens a lot. And a lot of times sales coaches will say oh, this is the place to push them to close that sale. I say be really careful because you can break rapport. So I will say to somebody a couple things. I might say, great, about how much time do you think you'll need? And let's go ahead and schedule a circle back call now. And then that way I can answer any questions that come to mind. And we can talk about best next steps. That's one possible response. Another is if you're feeling like maybe I didn't give them all the information they need and that's why they're thinking about it, I might say, now, is it okay to ask, is there any additional information that would be helpful for you to have or know so that you do have what you need in order to think about it? And then you wait, you see what they say, and then you say, great, I'll get that over to you, or I'll answer this, I'll give it to you now. Let's go ahead and schedule a circle back call so that we can answer any additional questions and talk about best next steps. Or sometimes I will say, we'll talk about we're either working together or we're not, which sounds pretty direct for some people, but I feel like it's authentic when I say it.
Right.
And so I've never had anybody be like, geez, pushy lady, by saying we're working together or not. But I have had somebody say to me, was saying that of oh, so that's when I make my decision. Yeah.
So two more instances that have come up for me that I'm sure are just typical for everybody here. Another line I have gotten is, I'll have to talk to my husband, partner, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, again, I've launched into, is there anything that I can provide them to make it easier to make a decision?
Yes.
The other thing that has happened recently to me, which was interesting, was I had to schedule a circle back call because the person I was talking to, who was an ideal client, who I think will become a client, and this isn't done yet, said, I'm not sure yet. And we scheduled a circle back call. She arrived, she came to the circle back call, which is always another sign that they do or they don't want to work with you. That she showed up at the circle back call, and another level of complexity came into the mix. I had issued a proposal, a high-end proposal, a medium or lower end proposal. And in her thinking about it, she was interested in the higher end proposal. And she said in her circle back call, I'm really interested in the yada yada, but I really will have to talk to my partner. And then I just did another circle back call. I said, okay, great. Is there any more information I can provide to you to make this easier? Let's schedule the final call or the next call then. So, and it felt very natural. It was because because she showed up and was participating. It felt very natural to do that.
It should feel natural, and it should feel natural to her too. Yeah. And sometimes when people say, I need to talk to my partner, I need to, whatever it is, I always say, great. When do you think you'll have that conversation? And then let's go ahead and schedule a circle back call. Now let's get it on our calendars.
Right.
That way I can answer questions and we'll talk about next steps. And is there anything you think your partner will want or ask you that we haven't discussed yet?
Right. Good.
So check in. But I love the way you handled it. I think the way you handled it was brilliant. Perfect. It's exactly how I recommend.
Yeah, good.
And it feels good to her, because the other thing is why the circle back call is so important and why you're willing to do that is because oftentimes people are busy. Like, I'm busy, you're busy. We all have a million things vying for our attention. When you have a call scheduled, you actually are making it easier for them to spend time thinking about it. But if you don't have a call scheduled, oftentimes they'll never make time to think about it. And that means they'll never get the result that they are saying they want or need. So then there's something missing in their life as a result of not hiring you.
The other element that I find is wonderful about a circle back call is it's a level of finiteness for you and for the prospect. So what we're saying is, as you said earlier, this is the point at which you're going to make a decision, in not that language. But if you just let stuff trail off, I'll get back to you whenever. Now this could be the guilty me saying I'm projecting, but they might be thinking, if you don't schedule a call, am I going to say yes? Am I going to say no? That's going to be weighing heavily on them. They're going to feel guilty if they see you at a networking event next week. It doesn't do them the favor of being able to tie it up in a neat little bow. And no is a fine answer. All I know is if you tell me no, I hear no for now, but I just hear now, I'm hearing, okay, I got it for now. Thanks for your time. But it's a release too. So, so you can get to the next person who might be more willing to work with you now.
Yeah, I don't believe in chasing clients.
No, I agree with that.
And I'm totally fine with somebody saying no. And I will say, if we've gotten all the way through all 5 steps, chances are it is a not yet. They'll come back around. And so now your job is to keep the relationship intact.
Right.
And it's totally okay for the answer to be no, and for you to move on, and then like go focus on the people who are ready to hire you now. But this is also why, again, I think what you said is the circle back call is so important, because otherwise you spend a lot of time and energy of like, should I call them today?
Yeah.
Like, is it too soon? Are they expecting me? Are they going to feel like, why is she pushing me? And then we get all in our heads, and when you're getting head, you're now expending energy that you could be using to grow your business in a way with people who are ready to work with you. So I get circle back calls on because, like, on my schedule, because then I don't need to think about that until the circle back call.
On. Yeah. And I mean, when I think of the amount of calories I've spent in that wondering process, should I call? Should I not call? Has 2 days been enough time? Is 4 days? All that stuff eats up energy.
Yes.
And it's so nice to be relieved from having all that yada yada going in your head.
Yeah.
So I see questions, you guys. If you have questions for the fabulous Nikki, please put them in the chat. There might be a delay, I can't tell, but I see one question here from Facebook user, whoever that is, that says, should you offer more than one option, different price points or whatever to your proposal? Nikki, what do you say to that?
I'm going to say the answer is often yes, but I want to put a qualifier on it. Your job is to recommend what a client needs, not what you think they can afford. So if you know that what they really need is your coaching package, for instance, and maybe you have some other options, like it's okay to say, my recommendation is this coaching package for you. Does that sound like a good fit? And if they're like, oh, I don't know about this or that, then maybe you go, well, I do also have the Sales Maven Society, and that's an opportunity for you to get access to my training and talk about whatever that other offer is. That's one way to do it, is really stand in your place of authority and recommend what they need. There's another opportunity where maybe you're not totally sure, but they're like, well, how does somebody work with you? Then you might give up to 3 options. I don't recommend giving more than 3 options to a question like that, because you can overwhelm people and cause them to like, oh, I can't make a decision.
Yeah.
So then I'll say there are 3 main ways to work with me. There's private coaching, there is a one-off strategy session, and then there is my Sales Maven Society. Based on those 3, is there one you're more interested in chatting about?
Yes, that's great. Again, you lay them out quickly, and then you say, where does this fit with you? The other thing that I've done, and tell me if this is right or wrong, is when we're at the stage where I'm offering them, here's what I think you can do. Here's how I think we can work together. I've made an on-the-spot decision about, am I going to offer them my high-end offer, or my medium, or my low? What am I going to offer? So if they smell like, and this is not, I'll just say it, if they feel like to me that they're going to get hysterical if I throw a huge number at them, I don't offer that high end. If it sounds to me like they really are ready to get resolution to this problem, then I'm pretty fearless about saying, here's what it is, and if you want to hear more, let's talk about that. So it's sort of a last minute assessment on my part. That might not be the best way to go, but that's how I've done that in the past.
Which, again, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
That you have to do that. One, I would say, kind of maybe a sidestep to that is for me to say, really stand in your place of power and recommend what you know they need.
Yeah.
And if they really need your high-end package, be willing to recommend that. And then, if you're like, oh, they're going to like, I mean, I've never really given anybody a price and had them be like, like they've never had that kind of
been hysterical.
Yeah, but I have given people pricing before and had them say like, oh, I had no idea that was the price point, which to me usually says I missed a step somewhere with them. So that's one of the reasons I list pricing on my website, is because I don't want to have a lot.
Did everybody hear that? She lists pricing on her website. So that's a question that we get in the group a lot. So Nikki, you are one of the people who does, and I think that's great.
I'm adamant about having some pricing on your website, because it cuts down on having conversations with people who are going to have a shocked response to your pricing. I don't want to have those conversations with people because it starts to make me doubt my price point when people are like, oh my goodness, right? But I just don't ever have those conversations. So most people have some idea about pricing with me when they come in to the conversation. And if they don't, that's okay. Like if they do have the like, oh, I didn't know it was that much, I probably would counter with, what were you planning to invest?
Would you say that, really?
Yep. What were you planning to invest? And then maybe we could talk about some other options that are a better fit for you.
Okay. That's interesting. I mean, that to me sounds like I'm ready to bargain and barter, and
Yeah, no. So you might qualify it by saying, what were you planning to invest? And maybe we could talk about some other options that are a better fit for you. Like I had one woman one time, I'm not even like this is a true story. I only tell true stories, but she got on the phone with me. This was early on in my business, and she explained to me that she gets paid $3,000 for an hour of training.
Wow.
And she was struggling to close trainings at that price point, but she really wanted to close them. And so my recommendation was for her and I to work together privately. And this was really early on in my business. So I was doing like a 2-hour strategy session at the time. And when I told her the price of the 2-hour strategy session, she was like, oh, yeah, that's a little out of my price range. And I asked her, what were you planning to invest? And maybe we could talk about some other solutions. And she said, well, I was thinking $100. And I said, great. My recommendation for you is, and at the time I had 2 books, I now have 3. And so I said, you could buy either of my books. And
Yes.
my recommendation would be the Buying Signals book, because I think it will help you.
Yeah.
And then it's a bless and release, because
Yes.
I don't work with clients privately for $100.
Right. But the other thing that, again, I've started doing 2 things. One is that I send them to my blog, because I've got a ton of content on my blog.
You have great content.
Which is resources for them.
That's
the
right.
other is then I invite them to this group, the Solopreneur to Entrepreneur group, because there's, again, so much content there of Facebook Lives, yada, yada. So I'm giving them here you go, here's a step that's free that'll get you started. And I'm at no point am I saying you're stupid for not wanting to spend money, or I'm just saying here are some options for you right now. And I'm keeping them in my community because they're on my email list, and I'm going to continue to send them my newsletter every week. So people don't buy necessarily the first time they even have a discovery call with you. I've had people come back many times, the second or third time, to discuss. Now I'm ready. Now let's talk.
I have people buy from me, I'm going to say every month, and feel pretty confident about this response. I have new clients that come into my business and pay me money every month that at some point met me previously and connected with me and were going to buy then, but weren't ready for whatever reason. Like it happens all the time. So you do want to keep the relationship intact. You do want people to feel really good about their interaction with you, so that when they are ready, you're still there. So I love that you're putting out really great content. I also put out a weekly sales tip.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people will, like, I just had a woman hire me earlier in 2019 who, she was like, I've been on your email list for 3 years and I've been watching you, and I was just waiting until I felt ready. And then now she became a VIP client.
Yeah. Isn't it?
Private client. And I didn't know that for 3 years. She was like, I'm definitely going to hire her someday. But, it's my way to stay engaged with her, and for her to still feel like she's getting some value out of staying connected to me.
Yeah. And she is, because the quality of what you send out and I send out is very much not salesy. It's very much resources and tips and ideas to help these people grow their business and do a better job with what they're doing. So I consider my email list and my newsletter valuable content. It's not just me slamming into your email list. So I just want to thank, I've now figured out how to do this, peeps. I want to thank people for being here. And Nikki, we're not done. I just want to play catch up here. Deborah Brown, thank you so much for being here. Yay, you're such a supporter. Meredith, thank you for being here. Meredith Legere Brown. Kara Jones Costilla, if you're still here, thank you so much for being here. Carolyn Shibaro. Who else is here that I missed? Nalisha Stevenson's Ado. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Now, does anybody else have a question specifically for Nikki, since we got her on the phone? And then I'll ask her for a little bit more information about how we can get in touch with her. Anybody? Don't be shy. You can see she's very approachable.
I love questions too. So please send questions if you have one.
How do you guys feel about your own selling process? No matter what kind of business you're in, are you comfortable with sales? Is this one of the things that makes you hiccup? What are your feelings about sales? And again, I know there's a delay here. Nikki, did I just lose you?
No, I'm still here. Was that question for me?
No, I was talking about the people on the
that's what
call.
I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if in case people are putting in their answer and there is this delay, which can be long, Nikki, tell us about how to get in touch with you. Tell us about the membership, which I can't speak more highly about, and your books. And I'll link to each of those in the comments above the video when I file it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the ways you can get in touch with me and also download something for free if you'd like is you could go to yoursalesmaven.com/ebook, and that'll give you access to my website, but it also allow for you to download an ebook that I've written around closing the sale. It's a very short, compact little thing packed full of tips for you around the close process and has some language in there for you. So that's one way to stay connected. You can find me on social media, Nikki Rausch or Your Sales Maven. You can find me there too, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And then the Sales Maven Society, which is my membership platform. This is my community. This is where all of my training is housed in a training center. This is where people get access to me in a private group where they can post questions. I do
and
live.
the answers. Oh my gosh, Nikki, you are so good with. I mean, I know that I've posted things like, this copy feels wrong to me, or how would you do the subject line better? And she copy edits. I mean, it's just the access to you is fantastic. So, and just one before you finish about the membership, all I can say about the membership is OMG. I mean, there's so much value there. It's just astounding. So finish your thought about what's on the membership.
So I try to do live, I do a live bonus at least every other month, but right now is a really good time actually to come in because we're doing a 5-part bonus, which is a call with me every other week where we're digging into the Selling Staircase, which is the book. And I've uploaded the audio of the book into the society. So people don't even have to go buy the book. It's the audio version is there for you in like a podcast type format. And there's a workbook that accompanies it. So I give my members a lot of access to me and a lot of sales training. There's, like I said, training content in there, but there's all of my articles are there, lots of little snippet videos and tips that I do ongoing for my group. I even have some language suggestions with some templates in there for them. So that's the Sales Maven Society. It's a monthly membership. It's normally $97 a month to come, although you have a special offer for your members, for your group, if they want to join. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, but that's an opportunity.
I can't remember what it is. So do you want to help me plan it?
Know what it is? Yeah, so if you want to join the membership, you actually can join using the coupon code. Well, let me back up here. To join, you're going to go to salesmavensociety.com. So salesmavensociety.com. You'll enter the little like add to cart, checkout button. And then there's a place in there for you to add a coupon code. Yeah. And the coupon code is SOLO to SEO. So, CEO. CEO, sorry. It's my brain. So it's SOLOTOCEO, all one word, lowercase, solo to CEO, and that will save you $10 off of your membership every month. And there's no long-term commitment, so you can come and go. If you go in there and consume all the content in 1 month and you don't want access to me in the private group, then you can leave, that's fine. Or come and stay, and the people who come in and post questions to me, like you said, I answer every question that I'm tagged in that people actually want my response. And it's a phenomenal community. I could not be more proud.
It really is. Yeah.
Of the members that are in there that are doing things. And we have a lot of experts in there, so they will offer you their own 2 cents if you want it. So sometimes it's nice to have other people look at your sales language and other people look at your elevator pitch, or other people offer you some suggestions on next steps from their own perspective as a business owner. So we have a really robust community.
And as is true with all really good groups, you learn from other people's questions, right? So it's the value isn't just your ability to get to Nikki, although that's huge. It's all the content that's in the group, all the questions, all of her solutions to other people. It's amazing. So again, I will post when we're done with the video, I will post links to that, the Amazon links to her books. Is that where you want me to link those?
Yeah, Amazon's probably the easier place. I mean, you can find my books, you know, Barnes and Noble and Amazon and iBooks and all of that. But yeah,
Okay.
whatever's easier.
Okay. And that's it. Anybody else have questions? Nikki, is there anything else you want to talk about that we didn't touch on? I mean,
I'll give one last tip that I really want to hit this home, and I feel like you did too. So I'm just going to emphasize what you said. It is super important that you learn how to invite people to the next step in the process with you of the sales, because people sometimes think, I'm just going to put up a website. People are going to flock to me. They're going to pay me all this money. But the truth of the matter is most people will not decide to buy from you until you invite them. So I just want to encourage you to invite those people to next steps with you, invite them to do business with you. And you might be surprised at how many people say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Great tip. All right, my dear Nikki, thank you so much for your time. This was just a pleasure. You guys, I hope this was valuable for you. As always, this video will remain in the group forever, or for a while anyway. So you can go back and listen again, or for those of you on the replay, if you missed it live and in person, if you want to ask questions afterwards, I'll go back through and see if I can answer them directly. If not, I'll tag Nikki, or you can tag Nikki, and she'll circle back because she'll see the tag and answer your questions that way.
Yeah, so I'm in the group. I'm a member.
Yeah, she's in the group. Yay. So I don't see any more questions. So with that, I want to thank you so much, Nikki, for taking the time to talk with us today. It was fantastic. And ladies, thank you for showing up live and in person and suffering through the first 10 minutes of this where I figured out what the technology was all about.
I think it was partly so I apologize. I completely lost my link.
Well, here we are. So it all worked out. So great. All right, people, have a great rest of your day. Nikki, thanks so much for your time. Goodbye, ladies. All right, now how do I get out of here? And I don't even know how to end it. How fun is that?
I think if you just close the window.
You think?
Like on your browser.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Bye.
finally going to Dr. Epstein, and then in the evening, hopefully, I'm going to be spending with Elizabeth because it's Halloween.
Good. Good.
We were going to do something costume related, but we don't have time, so we're just going to be hanging out.
Okay then.
Do you need me to go away?
Yes, but I love you.
Okay. Are you Facebook Living?
Yeah, I screwed up.
Oh, what happened?
I didn't save it.
You didn't save it?
No.
So the whole thing is guarded?
No, the people who saw it, but I usually record them. I didn't record it.
To never see any of you. Being here with you like this, looking in your beautiful eyes, hearing your sweet voice, being chill. Need something from me. I just want to kiss you. You drive me insane. How do you always get to me?
Will you, Thomas?